Better put that woman first.
Yeah.
Don't hate
You know we're fabulous. Oh yeah.
just in case I don't make it home tonight.
You can have it.
Never,
Will I break your heart?
never.
What are you arresting me for? Why y'all searching through my bus, first of all?
You know his voice from Put That Woman First, Fabulous, Could It Be, Just in Case, and Anything. But what you don't know about Jaheim will absolutely destroy how you remember this R&B legend forever. The man who once crooned about loving women's rights has been arrested 3 times in 4 years for one of the most disturbing crimes imaginable. And the latest arrest? Neighbors are calling him a monster. The Grammy-nominated singer who built a $4.5 million empire on soulful ballads is now living in an RV, traveling from city to city, desperately trying to hide the dark secret that's destroying everything he worked for. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. He claims he's doing it all for love. September 2025. Just when you thought Jaheim couldn't fall any lower, his New Jersey neighbors picked up their phones and dialed 911. Their complaint? The R&B legend was starving his dogs to death again. When police arrived at his home, they found exactly what they feared. But this time, Jaheim had a defense that left everyone speechless. He wasn't neglecting his animals. He was feeding them a strict vegan diet because he believes in low-calorie, plant-based meals for both himself and his pets. Wait, let's pause right there. A vegan diet for dogs? The same man who sang about putting women first was now putting his dietary beliefs before his pets' actual survival. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. This wasn't his first arrest. It wasn't even his second. This marks his 3rd animal cruelty arrest in just 4 years. Rewind to May 2025. Jaheim wasn't living the celebrity lifestyle anymore. He was traveling the country in an RV, and when authorities found him in a Fulton County shopping mall parking lot, what they discovered made headlines worldwide.
So the legal search. You don't have to do this. I can just give him a dog if that's the case.
A malnourished dog was tied to the back of his RV, left completely alone while he worked inside. When an unknown man approached officers aggressively, screaming, "We not taking the dog," nobody knew they were dealing with a Grammy-nominated superstar. The man eventually revealed himself as Jaheim, but by then, it was too late. The dog they found was severely emaciated with his rib cage protruding through the skin. This wasn't just neglect. This was torture. But the real horror show was inside the RV. 6 more dogs, named Tweet, Tip, Taka, Tink, Timber, and Tinger, were living in conditions that authorities described as squalid. No adequate food, no clean water, poor ventilation, and kennels filled with urine and feces. 3 of them were puppies. Let that sink in for a moment. September 6th, 2021. Police responded to a puppy in distress call at Jaheim's Hillsborough, New Jersey home. What they found there still haunts animal control officers today. 15 dogs, 12 mixed-breed pit bull terriers, 2 American Staffordshire terriers, and 1 mixed-breed boxer, all of them in varying stages of starvation. All of them suffered in silence while their owner lived comfortably in his mansion. 6 dogs were crammed into separate crates in the driveway, sitting in their own filth. But that was nothing compared to what officers found inside the house. 9 more dogs, some so emaciated they looked like walking skeletons. 1 dog was found unresponsive in a water-filled crate. Despite desperate attempts to save its life, veterinarians had no choice but to euthanize the animal. Its suffering was finally over, but Jaheim's legal nightmare was just beginning. To understand how the man behind Ghetto Love ended up living this nightmare, we need to go back to the beginning. Jaheim Hoagland was born May 26, 1978 in New Brunswick, New Jersey, in the Memorial Parkway Homes public housing project. Music wasn't just in his blood, it was his destiny. His grandfather, Hoagie Lance, was a soul singer who performed with the Drifters in the 1960s. But tragedy struck early when Jaheim lost his father, Tyrone Deshaun Cole, when he was just 3 years old. His mother, Julie Gratchel Hoagland, was left to raise 3 boys alone in one of New Jersey's toughest neighborhoods. But instead of letting poverty destroy him, Jaheim turned to music as his escape. By age 15, he was dominating talent shows at the legendary Apollo Theater. The kid from the projects had a voice that could make grown women cry and strong men emotional. That voice was going to change everything. 4 years after recording a demo tape that would change his life forever, KG from Naughty by Nature heard something special. In 2000, Jaheim signed with Divine Mill Records, and by 2001, his debut album, Ghetto Love, was climbing charts worldwide. Could It Be reached number 2 on the R&B charts. Suddenly, the kid who grew up with nothing was selling millions of records and performing for sold-out crowds. His deep, soulful voice drew comparisons to Teddy Pendergrass and Luther Vandross. But success came with a price nobody saw coming. 2002's Still Ghetto went platinum and spawned the massive hits Put That Woman First and Fabulous. These weren't just songs, they were anthems for anyone who'd ever struggled for love or respect. Put That Woman First became his signature song, a testament to treating women with dignity and honor. The irony of what would happen later is almost too painful to acknowledge. By 2006, Ghetto Classics debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, selling over 153,000 copies in its first week. Jaheim had achieved something most artists only dream of. He turned personal pain into commercial success. His net worth climbed to $4.5 million. He owned a beautiful home in Hillsborough Township, New Jersey. He had luxury cars, designer clothes, and respect from his peers. 3 Grammy nominations in 2011 cemented his status as R&B royalty. But behind closed doors, something was going very, very wrong. Success in the music industry is fleeting, and by the 2010s, Jaheim's star was fading. Newer R&B artists were taking over radio waves, and his album sales were declining. The pressure to stay relevant was crushing. In 2019, Jaheim missed multiple performances at a St. Louis music festival without explanation. Fans who had paid good money to see their hero perform were left disappointed and angry. This wasn't just unprofessional, it was the first public sign that something was seriously wrong. Industry insiders began whispering about erratic behavior and possible substance abuse. The soulful crooner who once sang about love and respect was becoming increasingly unreliable and unstable. But nobody, absolutely nobody, predicted what was coming next. By 2021, Jaheim's behavior had become even more erratic. Neighbors in his upscale New Jersey neighborhood began complaining about strange smells coming from his property and the sound of distressed animals. What they didn't know was that inside his home, a horror show was unfolding. 15 dogs were slowly starving to death while their owner, a multi-millionaire celebrity, ignored their suffering. When police finally responded to that fateful puppy in distress call on September 6, 2021, they discovered a scene that still haunts them. Dogs covered in their own waste, some so weak they couldn't stand, others desperately fighting for survival in waterlogged crates. The mixed-breed pit bull terrier that had to be euthanized became a symbol of celebrity neglect and abuse. But instead of learning from this tragedy, Jaheim was about to make everything worse. After his 2021 arrest, Jaheim's life spiraled completely out of control. Instead of getting help, he made a decision that shocked everyone who knew him. He started living in an RV, traveling from state to state with a pack of dogs. This wasn't some romantic road trip or spiritual journey. This was a desperate attempt to avoid accountability while continuing the same destructive behavior that had already cost one animal its life. Friends and family begged him to get help. Music industry colleagues offered support and resources, but Jaheim had convinced himself that he was doing right by these animals, feeding them what he believed was a healthier, more ethical diet. The reality was far more disturbing. When neighbors in New Jersey called police in September 2025, Jaheim's defenders came forward with an explanation that left everyone stunned. He wasn't abusing these animals, he was trying to save them by feeding them a strict vegan diet. According to his supporters, Jaheim had become a passionate advocate for plant-based living and wanted to extend that lifestyle to his pets. He genuinely believed that low-calorie plant-based meals were healthier for dogs than traditional pet food. But veterinarians immediately called this defense dangerous and absurd. Dogs are omnivores who need specific nutrients that can't be provided by a vegan diet without careful planning and professional supervision. What Jaheim was doing wasn't enlightened. It was slowly killing these animals. The fact that he'd been arrested twice before for similar behavior made his vegan defense even harder to believe. 3 arrests in 4 years. Dozens of animals suffering. 1 dog died. This isn't a series of unfortunate mistakes. This is a disturbing pattern of behavior that keeps escalating. In 2021, there were 15 dogs in New Jersey. In 2025, there were 6 dogs in Georgia. Now in 2025, it's happening again in New Jersey. Each time, Jaheim promises to do better. Each time, more animals suffer. Animal rights activists are calling for lifetime bans on pet ownership. Prosecutors are pushing for maximum sentences. Former fans are burning his albums and demanding radio stations stop playing his music. But here's what's really haunting about this story. Jaheim still doesn't seem to understand what he's done wrong. What makes this downfall even more tragic is what Jaheim has lost financially. His $4.5 million net worth is being drained by legal fees, bail bonds, and court costs. His music catalog, once worth millions, is now associated with animal cruelty instead of romantic ballads. Record labels won't touch him. Venues won't book him. Radio stations are quietly removing his songs from playlists. The man who once sold millions of albums can't even get a meeting with industry executives. His RV lifestyle isn't a choice. It's all he can afford now. The mansion in Hillsborough Township? Gone. Luxury cars? Sold. The comfortable retirement he should have been enjoying? Destroyed by his own actions. As of September 2025, Jaheim has not released a public statement about his latest arrest. His silence is deafening, especially for someone who built his career on emotional honesty and vulnerability. The 47-year-old singer who once crooned about putting women first is now known primarily for putting his own misguided beliefs before the welfare of helpless animals. The transformation is so complete, so devastating, that even his most loyal fans are walking away. Social media is flooded with former fans expressing their heartbreak and disgust. The hashtag #JaheimAnimalAbuser is trending, with thousands sharing their own stories of pet rescue and proper animal care. But perhaps the most damning response comes from his fellow R&B artists. Many have quietly distanced themselves from Jaheim, refusing to comment on his situation or acknowledge their past collaborations. How does a man who sang about love and compassion become someone who allegedly tortures innocent animals? How does a Grammy-nominated artist with millions of dollars end up living in an RV, running from state to state to avoid accountability? And most importantly, when will this pattern of abuse finally end? Animal welfare experts say that people who abuse animals often escalate to abusing humans. The fact that Jaheim's behavior has become more brazen and frequent with each arrest suggests that intervention is desperately needed. But intervention requires acknowledgement of the problem, and Jaheim continues to maintain that he's done nothing wrong. Songs like Put That Woman First and Fabulous should have been Jaheim's lasting legacy. They were anthems of respect, love, and treating others with dignity. They spoke to generations of listeners about what real love looks like. Instead, his legacy is now defined by the images of emaciated dogs, water-filled crates, and the sound of one animal's final breath in a veterinarian's office. The man who once had the power to make people fall in love through his music music is now making them sick to their stomachs with his actions. The transformation is so complete that it feels like a different person entirely. As Jaheim faces his third set of animal cruelty charges, the music industry and his fans are asking one simple question: how many more animals have to suffer before this ends? The R&B prince who rose from public housing to multi-platinum success has fallen further than anyone thought possible. His story should have been about overcoming adversity and inspiring others. Instead, it's become a cautionary tale about how fame and money mean nothing if you lose your basic humanity. The saddest part? Somewhere in storage are the master recordings of songs that once brought joy to millions of people. Now those same people can't hear his voice without thinking about the animals he failed to protect. The boy from Memorial Parkway Homes who sang his way out of poverty has become the man whose own actions destroyed everything he worked to build. And unless something changes dramatically, this story is far from over. 3 arrests, dozens of animals, 1 death, and a career in ruins. The only question left is, what will it take for Jaheim to finally understand that love isn't just something you sing about, it's something you live every single day. And right now, his actions are speaking louder than any song he ever recorded.